Homies, come on. What a good day to learn. To really get my ass handed to me on a silver platter and just beat the hell up. Because today was... you get those workouts every now and then where you really are sure of yourself. You know you've been doing the work. You know you've earned what you've gone up to attempt to. And yet, regardless of how much you feel you didn't meet the expectations or the standards that you set for yourself, you get that reaffirmation at the end of it, knowing that you put in the best that you could, on top of you know what the next step of how to do better. It was instant. Because if you were here before, last video I told you guys how I was really pissed off. I dropped the barbell on my quad. Stupid maneuver on my part. Thankfully, it was on a snatch movement, so it didn't hit my quad as hard as it could have on a clean movement. It was the first warm-up of the day, so it was only 95 pounds. I can't imagine what 225 would have done. Probably would have ruptured my quad and tore it off the bone. And funny enough, I'll put the pictures in at the end of the video once the lifts are done. But my left quad, thank God, it was not the quad tendon, because that was what I spent almost a year recovering. And it feels fine. It's good. There's no actual injury. It just swelled up like a baseball. And then yesterday and today, it bruised a good bit. Yesterday it was a lot more purplish yellow. Today it's just yellow, a little bit of red, which means all the swelling's almost gone. And there was no pain during my mobility stretches, so I thought, let's take it one step at a time, because even if I can't hit my normal workout today like I want to on the program, I got to try something. Because if it's just discomfort and not genuine pain or shocking to your body or nerves that's going to keep you out of the gym longer, you got to try something. You got to move a little bit, So I started with my stretches. Stretches felt fine, no kickback. I'm like, all right, just slight soreness, we can work with that. Of course I'm going to come in with the dream, the big hopes that I can hit the weights I want to hit, because today's my heavy snatch and clean and jerk day of the week. This is the first time I'm attempting a comp-like session before going to my actual comp in August. I'm genuinely trying to get good at this shit now. And so, of course, I have the idea that I'm going to hit those weights. I'm going to do the best I can. In my head, I'm like, all right, if I feel really, really good, 245 snatch triple, 295 clean and jerk triple. Because I've done those before. I feel like if I'm prepped enough, I can do it. I've never been stronger than now, so why not? No expectations when it comes to hitting your peak weight, but I do like to have a bit of a separation between the weights that you expect for yourself along the way, that you have to hit before hitting those dream weights, versus the weights that you have no idea about, but you're going to give the best effort one way or another, There has to be some sort of standard so that you can start somewhere and then build upon it. And then if you're peaked, then you can go as hard as you want, right? So I started doing my warm-ups. I started hitting my first sets, and I'm like, I already feel my quad stretching a bit. And again, it's just sore, which I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, if you just hit it with the barbell and it's sore still, maybe you should take it easy. And again, I take it one step at a time, because there's a huge difference between soreness and pain. And if it's just soreness, I think it's better to get the blood moving. At least do a couple warm-ups and then come back the next day and see if it feels better, or the day after that. Whatever I got to do, you got to get blood pumping through it at some point. The best way to recover an injury, no matter how small, is heat and pumping the blood. Putting cold on anything, putting ice on anything, is just to minimize pain. If you can deal with the pain, I would tell people to never ice their injuries, because it reduces blood flow. You want to have as much blood flow as possible. Honestly, this is one of the rare times I'm thankful I'm on 12-hour shifts, because I have to round on my patients every 15 minutes, so it gets me walking all night. Of course, it'd be better to do that during the day than staying up all night, but I don't get a choice in that yet. One way or another, I could immediately feel kicking back, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is pain yet, because on those warm-ups, it's going to be sore one way or another. It's been 2 days of no lifting. I don't know what my body's capable of, and then, again, I just technically, even if it's super minor, injured my leg. So it's going to be a little bit weaker than I expect it to be. So we start with one weight and build it upon the next and the next and the next. And every set, it got better and better and better. Because it was pretty ugly. And I'm going to tell you straight up, the workout today was all around pretty ugly. Not my best by any means, technique-wise, strength-wise, all around was not great when it comes to physically throwing the weight around. But I'm thankful for that. Because again, every set got better. By the time I hit 2 plates on snatch, I knew I was in the right spot. And so the mindset I had coming into this, like truly trying to become comp ready, I want these comp like day, I want to emulate what I want to feel like on a comp day on my heavy snatch and clean and jerk workout. You know, because that's going to be the best to not only train my body for the conditioning, but also train my mindset of where my body's going to be at when I get up there. I can't just do the normal training and then willy-nilly go at my own pace and fuck around on stage. I want to actually have an idea of what works for me when it comes to doing my opener, second attempt, and third attempt, you know? So, in my brain, 205 was an easy opener. That gets me on the board. And especially on a volume week, I'm not trying to go insane. You know, I'm not trying to PR on a volume week, and it's my first time doing this kind of workout. I'm easing into it. So in my brain, I'm like, 205, I destroy that for a triple. Hit that fine. Again, the technique is not great today, but I'm not even worried about it. You know, I just want as good a lockout as I can get and just move on one step after the other. So I'm tired already. The volume's getting to me. 225 hit pretty well. And I know I have enough in me. So the difference that I'm making on this, instead of doing super strict warm-ups right at the end and doing like a 225, and if I hit it, I have to go to 245, I want to minimize my risk of injury. I already knew hitting the 225 that the next set was going to be all or nothing, and I did not have the confidence to make a big jump. So if I even have to think about it for a second, because I'm going to give it 100% either way, but if I even have to think about it, it is best to do the smaller jump, because this is getting comp ready, not ego ready. So I jumped to 235. I had one miss, but again, this is a training comp day. I'm not going to worry about having one miss or whatever. I'm doing the best I can in the moment. And this is a triples day. It's not a singles day. Hit all the other ones. Happy with that. They weren't perfect. The first one was all right. Second one was beautiful. After the missed attempt, first one was okay. Second one I missed. Third one was beautiful. Last one was really good effort, really good lockout. There might have been a slight bend as I stood up just because my shoulders started internally rotating. So it became a bit unbalanced, but stood up with it. That's fine. You know, this is getting into the ballpark, understanding what I'm capable of. This is where the issues started, when I started not doubting myself, but realizing that I had been inefficiently training that whole time. Because not only was my quad okay, because despite the bruising, the biggest thing is that when I hit that 225 weight and that 205 weight before the peak third attempt, I realized that it was no longer a quad issue. My tiredness, my lack of speed was my conditioning, my core and my low back strength in that moment. And so in my head, I always tell myself, like, maybe I'm not doing enough conditioning, when we both know that's not true. Y'all see how much volume I've done in just this past week. And so when I get to clean jerks, I'm like, shit, okay. I've already committed to doing it this way, doing triples every single set. So I have to commit in the moment. I came to the gym, decided to do that. I don't know what works yet. So at the very least, even if I know going into it, halfway through, that it might not be what works, hindsight is a bitch. And I can always change it later. But I don't change my workout based off superstition or just doubt in my own abilities. I do it based off the facts of my own efforts in that session when I come back and talk to you guys. And every set, I needed about 5 to 10 minutes of rest, no matter how light it was. My core was just gone because I gave snatches my everything. And that's just the truth. I gave snatches 100%. And I had enough to do triples every set for snatches, but not for clean and jerks, especially right after. Maybe if it had been a clean and jerk day on its own, but we both know I struggle with that too. But again, this was not a day to doubt myself. This was a day to commit to the struggle, live in the burn, accept the reality that I put myself in, because that's what it means to become comp ready. Not doing the most perfect program every single day, but learning what program works best for you before you get on that stage, you know? And again, I don't really know exactly what I'm talking about yet. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a fucking professional. I've never competed before, but these are my ideas, and I live with my passions. And I tell you guys every time that if the lifts do not get me passionate to increase the weight, there's no point in doing them in the first place. I'd rather it be a deload day. Hit 255, It's okay. Again, a lot of the reps were dodgy. You'll see my low back especially just was breaking. And it's sad because all the volume just destroyed my core and low back strength. My CNS and core were actually really strong today. All of my split jerks were strong. Not one split jerk looked bad. It was just the cleans because the action of whipping under the bar as fast as you can, you have to have that confidence and that core and low back and CNS strength to back it up. It's not just main muscle group strength, ever. So that was when I realized the inefficiencies of my workout. You know, that I was like, shit, you know, but I'm already there, you know. I'm thankful I learned this on the lightest comp day of the whole program. You know, I still have doubles week and singles week. So did 255, it's okay, locking it in. When I got 275 going, I already knew that was going to be top set. Not because I can't do 285 today to match the 235 snatch triple. I know for a fact I could have done it. But what I don't know for a fact is if my technique would have stood with me. And that's the biggest part about these comp days that I want to prepare for. I'm not doing this for just strict conditioning like on my complex days in the first 3 days of the week, you know? This day is different now. I have my conditioning days. I already have my complex days, my core days, whatever. Those are the days where I do the most volume because I can. And I can burn through it and feel good because it's all technique. But on the days where I have to have all my strength ready, and I'm also focusing on technique and core on top of it, it's too much. Because the second rep on 275, again, all the split jerks were beautiful. The first clean was okay. The second clean was really bad because I started leaning forward. That's when I knew I was too tired to keep going. The third rep, I brought it back, but it still was not fast. And that's the biggest thing in Olympic lifting. I want my peak days to be fast, confident, passionate. And that was just let me make sure I hit my top set kind of day, you know? Not a let's see where I'm at kind of peak day. Because I just couldn't. Not because I'm not strong enough, but because if I push the technique when it's not capable in that moment, that's when my knee explodes again. And I'm not risking that ever again. I've been through it too much. I already know what's in for me with that route. And that's why I'm confident in saying that the next step to making these days as simulated as I want them to be like a comp day when I get on that stage and actually do the best of my abilities, it can't be like a conditioning day where I do the same volume, same kind of complex every single warm-up set, because I can do that on the days where there is no expectation of a peak. It's purely just technique and core and making sure the lockouts are good. On these peak days, it's getting into more of the strength. It's utilizing the technique and core and CNS that you built up along the way and then putting them to the test on a strength day. I know Olympic lifting is always going to be based off of how good your technique is, but to an extent, you need that strength to back it up every time. And my limiting factor is always that my strength is not big enough on the days that I need them. And I know, based off my track record, every time I started doing no volume on my warm-ups, on those peak days, those were the days where I was tripling 295 on clean and jerk, tripling 245 on snatch. And had I done singles up to my first opener attempt, could I have done it? Maybe. But hindsight is a bitch. And I don't care about shoulda, woulda, coulda. I learned today. I did good today. I committed today. And that is what matters. So next time I come in for a peak day like this, I'm going to make damn sure that no matter what I do, it's going to be confident and passionate. So when I come in for my doubles week next week on the peak day, it is 100% going to be singles all the way up to, on snatch, it'll be singles to at least 205. And then on clean and jerk, it'll be singles at least through 255, because those were my openers today. And then on the doubles week, my opener, my confident, get my name on the board kind of weight, because the opener you have to hit no matter what to set the standard, is going to be something like a 225 double, because I know I can kill that, and then a 275 double on clean and jerk, because again, I know I can kill that. And then from there, we can see what jumps we can do. because the second attempt is already going to be 245, 295. So if those fly, because I save my energy for those sets without burning through the warm-ups, I can potentially push to a 265 double and a 315 double. That would be peaked. And I'm never going to expect that on a peak. That's the hope. That's the dream that we push to keep doing better by. But damn it, at the very least, I'm going to make sure I crush my first and second attempts. And if that means, because there is always going to be such a thing as too much volume. And I've been doing it. I separated the complex technique part of the week in the first 3 days from these last 2 days of the week where it's strength-based, because I wanted these days to be actually consistent in the growth that they have. Now, the only thing I will say is that grinding through power lifts is going to be a lot more okay than on Olympic lifts, because Olympic lifts, you have to have the technique to balance out that strength along the way. Power lifts, if you just hold tight and do the static movement as hard as you can burn through it a lot better. I'm going to make sure I really think about it tonight and get a good idea of what I want to truly do based off today's effort. But I'm, one way or not, tomorrow I'm going to come in and do my back squat and bench press strength day. No complexes, just sets of 6 on both. And I think it's going to be what I've been doing with all the complex movements and the volume movements, where I do it's either going to be the same where I do as good of a first set that I can, but the moment I start stressing and really have to work for it, I do 3 working sets after for the conditioning, because that'll still grow me in strength well. But again, if I want this to be a less volume-based part of the week and more strength-based, it honestly might be better to just do the same kind of comp mentality where I hit my first quote-unquote opener for a set of 6, and if I know I can kill it, we'd see how the warm-ups go from there. Because let's say I do 365 for 6 on back squat. I can kill that. Then we jump to 385. If I hit that, wonderful. If I hit that, 405 might be on the board. And if I'm not confident, 395. One way or another, it'll be a good day to test out the main lifts and then give it that time to recover, because I'm only doing 2 days on the strength part of the week, taking a rest day, and then jumping back into the conditioning when I decrease the volume, increase the weight. One way or another, I'm going to succeed and do better. Physically, I'm not going to lie to you, it wasn't great. I'm going to give it a 7.45. It wasn't a bad day. I brought it back really well. I got as much energy as I could put into it, but it wasn't the standard by any means. And it was not a passionate day for the most part. I had to make myself force the passion rather than ride the passion. So we're going to change that and we're going to do better. Mentally, for sure, an 8.65. It was a way better day mentally because, again, that reaffirmation of how I want to feel walking on stage, doing these competition type lifts, I'm getting a better idea every single day of how I want to feel when I truly hit my peak. And that's what matters. That's what's going to get me to that next step. So one way or another, I will be back tomorrow, like I said, back squat, bench press, strength day, and then we'll rest, figure it out from there. We're learning every day, reaffirming our values every day, becoming more passionate every single day. Thanks for hearing me yap. Appreciate you guys as always. Let me know how those lives and lifts have been going. And I love you guys. I'll see you later. Bye.